Alright, YouTube, here we are again today, doing another addition to the 1911 videos here. Today we're going to show you how to install a couple of what I believe essential parts onto the 1911. They are going to be your full-length guide rod, and it's already installed here because it is a pain in the ass to put on the first time. Garter 150% MEU spring, recoil spring, as well as your hammer spring. Now, that guide rod also comes with front barrel plug. Won't work without it, because obviously front barrel plug on the current 1911 doesn't have a hole in it, buddies. Now, both of those parts are relatively inexpensive. I got the spring guide and plug off of a shooter site. It's the first site to come up on Google if you will type in 1911 full guide rod. It's actually in the shopping options there. It's a Wilson Combat, official Wilson Combat guide rod, and it cost me about $29. It was a 36 ship. Not too bad. The springs are at evike.com, and you have to find the springs that are listed with 150% in the parentheses. I found that the other ones are just enhanced. It's not really it's not really the better recoil on them, I should say. So, first thing you're going to want to do is obviously take out your magazine as if you were field stripping it. Field strip the gun. Obviously, you cock back to your field strip notch here. Pop it out, pull it down, we'll slide off. Now, we're going to first do the hammer spring only because it's probably the piece that deals with the most little parts. It's also called your mainspring. And what you do is you come in. It should be on the left side of your gun, but I put my pin in wrong. It's on the right side of my gun. There's a little indent on your mainspring pin here. Now, what you do with this is you take and you push your mainspring housing up a little bit to relieve the tension. Take a small screwdriver and you poke this little pin through. Set that to the side. Obviously, don't lose it. Pull out your mainspring. Don't mess around with the leaf spring or the beaver tail right now. You don't really need to. Now, if you're dealing with the Wii Tactical version, because this video also applies to any other Wii Tech 1911, I don't know about high Kappas, but dealing with the tactical version, your mainspring, if you look in the top here, hope we can get you on the camera. You see that little brass part at 12 o'clock there. Now what that is just a simple pin. See the other side of it on the side here. What you're going to do is you're going to push down on that little black thing in there at the same time that you're pushing out this little pin. Now I can get that all to work. You'll see I got this black piece that just popped up here. Now that brass pin might fall out, it might not. If it does, don't worry about it. It's got one flared end like a nail and the other's narrow end. Goes in only one certain way with the flare end on the outside, and you'll pull out. It's going to be this little black plug and the spring. The spring tossed to the side, sell it on eBay, do whatever you're going to do with it. That's your stock spring. And take your new aftermarket spring, insert your little plug in the end, put it in, and you just push down and tap in on the side, little brass pin. So it's all set there. Easy enough. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with taking out your mainspring, dealing with your leaf spring, in here is going to be a rod that's connected to your hammer. That's going to go into your little notch in the beaver tail there. You're going to slide on your mainspring, make sure it goes over the notch, and then, like I said, it doesn't really matter how this pin goes back in. I just do it because I'm OCD. I just lost the pin. There we go. I'm OCD. I like to put it in so that the divot of the pin is on the left side of the gun, inside polymer for right-handed. There's that. We'll set that to the side, and here's the slide that we're going to be working on. Obviously, take this out like your normal field strip. You pull out your old guide rod and spring, throw those off to the side, and you take out your old spring plug. Now to do this, take out front spring plug housing, or guard, I don't know all the technical terms, don't yell at me. And you can throw that to the side for now. You're going to take your new spring and guide rod assembly here. Now, for those of you getting this particular setup, you're going to buy your guide rod, you're going to buy a spring. These springs are rather tight at the ends. What you have to do is get on them and twist them clockwise so that they loosen up, especially at the end. Take some needle nose, get in there, twist it open, because if you don't, when the gun recoils back and the spring compresses onto here, if it's too tight, sometimes the spring will just stay right there, and your whole gun is going to wobble. It's not going to recoil right. So make sure you loosen up that end. Leave this end tight, it's a pain in the ass to put on, but leave it tight, it will never move on you. Now, take this spring assembly, and if you'll notice, there's this little notch here on the bottom that just rests in here against the barrel. Stick this in here like that, so we're resting like so. Now, take your plug, and just for the sake of doing it easily, pull down the spring with one hand while you put the plug on with your other hand. Now, hold it with your finger. For those of you who've got a bushing wrench for this, a lot of people have bushing wrenches for the 1911s. You actually have to use them to take apart the real ones. I don't own the real ones, so if you've got that, that's going to work perfectly. All that does is that as it fits around this, as you put this in, it's also going to hold this front guide rod on, or hold it down so that you can basically twist that around on there so it locks in. Obviously with the spring it's rather tight and fits in there nicely. So now, as we put this back on, a lot of you may have already noticed, I personally like this a lot more with the 1911s, but now you get this nice full guide rod look. Pros of a full guide rod are that instead of relying solely on frame, these frame bars here to guide your slide back puts a lot of pressure on them, and especially if you don't have a real steel frame that's not made out of high carbon steel, the gun frame may actually crack after a while of extensive use. The guide rod does take a lot of pressure off of that, so the gun's riding more on the rod than it is on the frame. Now we're riding on a little bit of both, and it works fairly nicely. For those of you who've been following my videos, I did do a couple of upgrades, tiny little things to this since the last time. What I tried to do, and many of you may run into this when you're sanding this down, I may do this as an addition or second video to my silver WeTech video there, is I did take this from the original black color and sand it down. What I did find out is that the slide is aluminum. Obviously, it gives you a better blowback, crisper blowback, less gas usage, better for gas efficiency. However, it's bad for sanding down the gun because your frame is made out of steel. Now, if you want to take sandpaper and shine up the steel here, it will stay shined up for about a day, and it will fade down, and it's not going to be too good. And then the only other thing I did was I took off, it fell off again, parts be falling off the gun. The lanyard loop here, don't really like it, so I don't really give a crap. And then I put on my ambidextrous safety here. It didn't fit because of the rubber grip, and those of you who have it know that there's like a little lip that comes out the bottom here. Cut it off. And then there's two triangle insertions that hold the two sides together. One's a female and one's a male end. Just drop the super glue, drop in the female end, and I just squeeze them together, let it sit overnight. Perfect. The 150% upgrade on the spring here is wonderful for the gun. Doesn't kill your gas usage at all, and it actually allows you to shoot a lot faster. And also, you do get that if you like release it with the spring before, you get a kind of sloppy return. This time it's a nice, crisp, sharp return, and the spring shakes a little bit, hits a little better. So that's that video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, comments, messages, anything you want, and probably be more coming along. Catch you guys later.